We use meditation for three things in the work that we do, because I am in the business of studying how people change, why we change, how we change, and why is it so difficult to change? And if I do change, will my life change? That's kind of the experiment, right? So the first reason we use meditation is to become familiar with a personality that's hardwired, conditioned, habituated, to break down that personality. So you have to become familiar with your thoughts and your beliefs, your behaviors and attitudes, and your emotional responses. That's become so familiar, so conscious that you don't go unconscious and default back to the old personality, because then your life will stay the same. I'd say that when the pain of your discomfort outweighs your fear of making a different choice and stepping into the unknown, you'll actually decide to change, because you'll sooner or later realize that the person who's betrayed you 5 years ago has gone on and lived their life. And the only person that's being affected by your thought or your emotional response to that person is you. It's like drinking poison, expecting the person to die. Sooner or later we come to that point where no drug, no shopping spree, no sports car is going to make that feeling go away. And this is really kind of the moment of truth, right? So, and there's nothing wrong with it. I just think that there comes a point in our life where we have to really decide, okay, maybe if I change, my life can change as a consequence. Because change is completely uncomfortable, and it's so inconvenient. It's really inconvenient. It's never the right time. It's just never the right. There's always a lot of excuses. There's always someone else's fault. And I think that's the default, to live your life as a victim of your life instead of the creator of your life. And I think there's a big distinction between that. Because if the environment is, your response to your enemy, the only reason you see your enemy the way you see them is because of the experience you had with them or the experiences you had with them. Another person can interact with your enemy and have a completely different experience of them and see them through the lens of that experience, right?
Yeah, they could be the greatest person in the world to someone else.
Exactly. So our thoughts about our enemy and our emotional responses to our enemy, justified, valid or not, the only person it's affecting is me, right? And the stronger the emotion that I have to some person or some problem in my life, the more I pay attention to them. And where I place my attention is where I place my energy, right? So I'm giving my power away to change because of that person or that circumstance. And even if you said, Louis, why are you so upset? You say, it's that person energy, right? So I'm giving my power away to change because of that person or that circumstance. And even if you said, Louis, why are you so upset? You say, it's that person, that person in that circumstance is causing me to feel this way and think this way. Well, what you're really saying is my environment is controlling my thoughts and emotions and behaviors, and I'm victim to it. And so usually it takes crisis, when the pain of your discomfort outweighs your fear of the unknown or your fear of change. That's the moment people finally go, I got to change, right? When no drug, nothing else is working, you're left with you, right? So we teach that to change is to think, act, and feel differently in the same environment. And if your body has been emotionally conditioned because you keep remembering the problems in your life and feeling the emotions associated with them, your body's being conditioned into the past. And the body's being literally believing it's living in the past. If I run through the same habit every single day, thinking the same way, making the same choice, doing the same thing, creating the same experience, and feel the same emotion over and over again, if I do that enough times, it becomes habituated, it becomes more automatic. And that's when we lose our free will to change to a set of programs, right? So to change then is to be greater than the body as the mind, be greater than the habituations it's created, because a habit is when the body is the mind, and to be greater than those emotions that keep us responding and reacting as if we're in the past, right?
What do you mean by that, when the body is the mind?
If you think about a problem in your life, the problem in your life is connected to certain people with certain, conditions at certain times in certain places. The moment you remember the problem, you're thinking in the past, yes? But the thought, the memory is producing the emotion, and the emotion that you're feeling seems very real in the moment.
Yes.
But the body's so objective. It can't distinguish between the experience that's creating the emotion and the emotion that you're fabricating by thought alone. So the body, it's reliving the past, right? So you take that thought and the feeling, the image and the emotion, the stimulus and response, and you're going to condition the body into becoming the mind of that emotion. Now the body's believing it's living in the past 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, right? And many people wake up and start their day with their entire state of being in the past. They think about their problems, they feel the emotions, they get back into the familiar known self, right? So this is where it gets really interesting, because the 5% of our conscious mind is working against 95% of what we program subconsciously. Wow. So you could say, I'm happy, I'm healthy, I'm free, I'm abundant. And your body's saying, no, you're not. You're miserable. You're in trouble. You're unhappy. And the thought never makes it to the body, right?
Why does it never make it to the body?
Because it's the mind and body are in opposition, right? The body can't accept the information of that thought, because it's not feeling the feeling of that thought. It's feeling a different feeling. And the body is the mind of the past. Now, the person may forget about the problem or the past event in their conscious mind, but the body never forgets.
Really?
The information, the trauma is in the body now, because the emotion is the signature chemically that's stored in the body. So when you decide to change and you say, I want to get healthy, I want to get wealthy, I want to get free, the body says, listen, man, that means we got to get out of this misery.
Interesting.
And I'd rather stay in my suffering and my pain than take a chance and possibility, because it's been trained. It's all it knows. That's all it knows, is that safety to be there. The unknown is too dangerous. It would rather cling to their unhappiness than take a chance and possibility. And if you've done something so many times, complain, those neural pathways are going to forge really big trunks. And it's going to be automatic. You could complain and you're going to make it look easy, and it's not going to be hard for you to complain. And that's because your body has done it enough times that it knows how to do it better than your conscious mind. So it's automatic, right? So this is all really great when you're in the comfort zone, living the life that's, familiar to you. But the moment you say, I want to change, right? The body, which has been conditioned to be the mind, does not want to go to a new future because it can't feel the feelings of it. So the struggle in change is to be greater than the emotions that have been conditioned to the body, and to be greater than the habituation to get up and check your cell phone or check your email, all the stuff that we do. You can't be in the present moment when you're doing that. So it takes an enormous amount of energy, an enormous amount of awareness to be able to settle the body down, because it'll do anything it can to unseat us. You're dying, you're going to have a heart attack, I'm in pain, all the body's resisting this movement. But what we discovered in the research that we do is that if you go past that point where you think you're done, and then you go past that point where you're sure you're done, and you go a little further than that, that's the moment the brain changes the most. And that's the moment the body changes the most, because you're stretching it out of the known. You're stretching it into the unknown. Nothing dangerous happens, and it starts to relax more into the unknown.
So what I'm hearing you say, correct me if I'm wrong, you can't just think alone to change the body. You need to be able to also change the body and relax the body.
In the emotional state, yeah.
In the emotional state.
And we can get to that in a second.
Yeah.
Well, think about it. The unknown is a dangerous place in survival.
Even if it's a healthy place.
Yeah, but if it's unknown, we come pre-programmed with all this biology for survival. And you get a better chance of surviving if you run from the unknown, right? So it goes against the survival systems in the brain and body, and the protective systems as well. So then if a person is sitting in meditation and they start thinking about their enemy, or they start thinking about their coworker, or start thinking about their cell phone, they're not in the present moment, right? Or what happened yesterday, or what's going to happen in the next 15 minutes. And this is the disentangling from the program. So if a person can catch themselves going unconscious, we discovered that the only way you actually become conscious, conscious, is to catch yourself enough times going unconscious that you no longer go unconscious to it's too hard, I'll never change. You've confronted it enough times, you're aware of it enough times that voice or that thought has no power over you any longer. And this is where people usually rather get up and turn the TV on, right, than sit in that discomfort. So when the body gets agitated, when the body gets impatient, when the body gets frustrated, when the body wants to get up and do something, it's programmed to do that, and you're sitting in a meditation and you notice you're getting agitated, instead of saying, I can't meditate, you bring that body right back into the present moment, and you lower the volume to that emotion, you take your attention off that problem. That's the victory. That's change right there. That's worth more than all the gold in the world.
That one moment.
Because you're telling the body it's no longer the mind. And you're saying, I'm the mind now. And the body bucks and kicks like an unbridled stallion. It just doesn't want to do that. And all of a sudden it starts conjuring up thoughts why you should leave and does all that stuff. And you catch yourself doing that. You bring your body back down into the present moment. Now you're executing a will that's greater than the program to do what we do that's familiar.
Because your thought or your mind is saying, think about this other thing, get up, this is painful,
Right.
this is annoying. When it's thinking about something else to give you relief.
Right. And that's the relief from the unknown, right? And it's kind of interesting because this is the last point about why we use meditation around the idea of change, to be greater than the environment, to be greater than the body, and now to be greater than time. Because if you're feeling the same feelings and you're thinking thoughts that are memories from the past, that's familiar. That's the familiar past. If you're trying to anticipate what's going to happen and you can predict what a person's going to do, if it's predictable because they're habituated, that's the known too. That's the predictable future. So if the familiar past is the known and the predictable future is the known, there's only one place left where the unknown exists, and that's the present moment, right? And we got to labor for that present moment, and it takes a day or two to get beyond yourself. But the moment the person can finally relax into the unknown and they can relax into the present moment, there's a dramatic physiological shift that goes on. The field around the body starts to build. Why? Because if you're no longer putting your attention on your enemy and you're lowering the volume of that emotion over and over again, you're going to forget about them. And you're going to call energy back to you. And now there's energy to heal. And now there's energy to create, right? And energy naturally moves out of these lower hormonal centers and naturally moves right into the heart. And a person can actually relax into the present moment by relaxing into their heart. If you can do that enough times, the heart all of a sudden tells the brain, hey, the past is over, the trauma is over, the betrayal is over, and it resets the baseline in the brain. So now the person is no longer interested in the past. The heart has actually taken the body out of the past into the present moment. Now the heart is the creative center. And what does it say? Lewis, dream. Dream of a new possibility. This is your imaginary state. This is where the brain waves change. And all of a sudden you start thinking about possibilities you'll never have ever thought about before, because you're feeling the emotion of that future. And because you can feel the emotion of that future, you can put your attention on it, right? And where you place your attention is where you place your energy. Keep making that thought and that feeling, that image and that emotion, that stimulus and response. And now you can condition the brain and body to look like the future has already happened. Now, this is where it gets exciting, because now the experiment continues. That means that if I've truly changed my state of being and I've conditioned my body emotionally into the future, I would no longer be looking for the event any longer. When's it going to happen? Because if I feel the emotion of my future, why would I look for it? This is when the synchronicities, the simultaneities, the synchronicities, the opportunities start to kind of come to you. Like you're not going anywhere and working hard and doing a lot of things to get it. Somehow they're kind of coming to you in ways that you hadn't thought about or you expected. And that's kind of the wake-up call to say, Lewis, you're the creator of your life. You're not the victim of your life, right? So we use meditation to be greater than our body, to be greater than our environment, to be greater than time. And if you close your eyes and you disconnect from the outer world, play music to fill the space, you can't hear the coffee, you can't hear your kids, you can't hear the lawnmower next door. Your inner world is starting to become more real than your outer world. Yeah, you got to get past yourself in the beginning, but if you do that really well, if the change is to be greater than your environment, to be greater than your body, and greater than time, we use meditation to take all of your attention off of your environment, all of your attention off your body, and all of your attention off of time. And the moment a person is no longer aware of their environment and the people and the objects and things and places, they're no longer aware of their body and they're no longer aware of time, they're no longer in the program. That is the moment they're liberated, and there's a dramatic change that happens in the brain and body. So we labor for that moment called getting beyond yourself, right? The third thing we do meditation for is to get beyond the analytical mind. And what separates the conscious mind from the subconscious mind is the analytical mind. And about 5% of who we are is our conscious mind by the time we're in our late 30s. And then the 95% that's been programmed because of certain habits and behaviors or beliefs and perceptions and attitudes and emotion and reactions and emotional conditioning, that 95% has been programmed subconsciously. So we teach people how to slow their brain waves down. Well, we figured out a way to teach them how to slow their brainwaves down and get out of the thinking, analytical, critical mind and get beyond it so you can enter the operating system where those programs exist and rewrite the program.